I'm just getting everything set up right now. Wow, the camera's actually a little bit lower this time. Huh. Or is it because the mount I had it is just a bit lowered? Okay, that's pretty much good. This damn pillow is annoying. The pillow that's supposed to be on the chair heads, but it does not fit my head comfortably. And besides that, it's also not positioned right. So that's pretty much the nuisance. Alrighty, everything's going good so far. Other than that, I'm still reading this damn article. Sex, Deceit, and Scandal, Ugly War Over Bob Ross's Ghost. Understanding, oh man, the feud between Bob Ross family and the Kowalski's family when it comes to Bob Ross Inc. The company's legacy, its profits, and the legal and internal drama. This is not entirely political, so without further ado, let's see where I can head to. Okay, I'm just going to peruse around to see which place works best. Grand Theft Bob. I just can't get that that quote out of my head now. And reading it over, yeah. Now I'm remembering it all over again. Nope. I feel like I'm in a short crack course, I guess, of where I was talking about, so I could think more about it. Alright. Okay, yeah, this looks good. Alright. I think it's wise just to head to before they talk about the expenses. Alright, let me just read through here and just downward there. Kowalski's first target was Bob's estate. When Bob died, it was worth around 1.3 million, with half of that comprised of his 1/3 ownership of Bob Ross Inc. Aside from cash and stock, there were also physical properties to be divided, and then there was the matter of Bob's actual artwork and art supplies. Here, the Kowalskis pounced through their lawyers, and Netta and Walt demanded that Bob's widow Linda and the estate turn over what they considered to be their property, and they took an expansive view of what they owned. They ultimately wanted Bob Ross's art, all finished paintings, work copies used in the development of Bob Ross's finished paintings, and all paints, brushes, easels, canvases, and other supplies, materials, and tools used by Bob Ross. End quote. In other words, they contended that everything Bob had worked on was theirs, down to every last paintbrush or easel he had touched. Yeah. Alrighty, that should be good. So. Alright. When the property wasn't forthcoming, they slapped Linda and the state with a lawsuit demanding the items as well as damages, lost profit, and attorney fees. In some ways, Bob may have foreseen this maneuver upon giving a painting to one of his friends after he became sick. For example, he had written an explicit message on the back about the work's new owner because, according to that friend, he was worried the Kowalskis would try to repossess it upon his death. In addition to the property that was theirs, the Kowalskis also made claims against the estate for businesses and personal reimbursements. It's a standard part of estate closures to set outstanding debts. For instance, according to Paul Bate documents, the Mayo Clinic asked for a little more than $40,000 for Bob's medical expenses, and Linda asked for around $10,000 for Bob's funeral. Two standard items one expects to see. Let me reread that. Two standard items one expects to see. Aside from those, the only other reimbursement claims were filed by the Kowalskis under the spices of costs incurred from trips Bob made to the Mayo Clinics in Rochester, Minnesota and Jacksonville, Florida to treat his cancer. The expenses dated all the way back to April of 1994, 15 months before Bob died. So the Kowalskis, or someone in their employ, had swift through a backlog of credit card bills from the past year and have to come up with their figures. There were several large expenses they wanted to estate to reimburse the company for, like Bob's plane flights to Rochester or Annette's trips to Florida to visit him. But there was also expenses like $41.63 for the travel lodge in Jacksonville, $14.10 for Shawnee's, $16.92 for Cracker Barrel, $17.50 for Denny's. Many of the corporate expenses were charged to Bob's company card, but quite a few were on Annette's. So even though two of the three owners of Bob Ross Inc. were involved in many of these transactions, and despite the fact one could argue keeping Bob Ross alive would appear to be legitimate business expenses that the company should recover, my bad. The Kowalskis apparently consider these purely personal expenses to the state should be on the hook. The Kowalskis' expenses weren't limited to just the company credit cards, though. In a separate claim, they also demanded reimbursement for personal expenses, again for the trips to Rochester and Jacksonville, as once more, there were several larger expenses like hotel rooms in Rochester, along with others like $15.05 for Red Lobster, $38.10 for flowers, or $11.09 at a bookstore in Minnesota. If none of these were business expenses, instead, Netta was there solely in their capacity as one of Bob's close friends to support him in his time of need. Well, with friends like these, who needs enemies? Alrighty. There was a larger irony at play, if it can be called that. On one hand, when it came to all the paintings in his estate, Bob's vast corpus of work, the Kowalskis argued that since he was work for hire, whenever he pushed a brush on the canvas, Bob Ross Inc. owned his time and thus all of his creative work. On the other hand, when it came to Bob's health, perceiving the person whose name and likeness had made it all possible, that apparently had nothing to do with Bob Ross Inc. Alright. right. All right. Yeah, it was, it was as if Kowalski's had wanted to make sure their cake and eat it too, and if he could manage it, they apparently wanted Bob Ross to pay for the cake. Given the apparent pettiness of all it all, it's no surprise that over the years among Bob's friends and family, there will be rumors that Kowalski's have asked to be reimbursed for the flowers they sent to the funeral, and even tried to take control of Bob's corpse. There's zero evidence for either of these. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My mouth's a little bit funny right now. Well, one might think that suing a dead man over items like paints and paintbrushes might be scraping the bottom of the barrel. Kowalski could, however, go lower, namely suing a PBS children's TV show for $500,000 as well as their very PBS station, WIPW, that have for a decade been home to the joy of painting, because that is owned by his mentor, Bob Ross, and the control of the work is a matter a lot of states find in their repertoire to handle. Maybe there's a video that explains about people who own estates and how what's going on, dailies, how to and stuff. So people can, see their side. The show in question was a 4-part children's song and dance series called The Adventures of Elmer and Friends. Bob had appeared as a guest star in the first episode via a green screen from Florida, since he was too ill to travel at the time. He played himself in a handful of scenes. He helped a troop of wayward children search for a miner's hidden treasure. The miner's name happened to be Old Water, and as Bob explained, Old Water was long deceased. That episode, Treasure... Actually, no, let me just go with my voice. That episode, Treasure Beyond Measure, aired 2 months after Bob died. Less than a month later, the Kowalskis filed a federal lawsuit against WIPB and the show's producer, Indiana dermatologist named Terry Mush. Given Bob's prominence in music, the filing resulted in a cringe-inducing headline in one of the local papers, the Star Press. Bob Ross Inc. sues children's show, accompanied by a photo of a broadly grinning Bob. In addition to demand the destruction of any merchandise related to the Adventures of Elmer and Friends, all profits Terry had reaped and tripled the damages Bob Ross Inc. had allegedly incurred. The suit also tracked on $500,000 as a penalty for Terry's allegedly encouraging, assisting, and cooperating with Bob Ross in the breach of his fidelity duty of loyalty to Bob Ross Inc. End quote. Let me look at that pronunciation because I have no idea how to pronounce it. Fiduciary. Oh yeah. I rarely hear this word, but yeah. It's fiduciary duty. It sounds very close to douche, but yeah. It's neither here or there. Kowalski's argument went something like this. Because Bob had consented to specific limited trademark filings, such as cartoon likeness for use of paint products, they now exploited that to say that Bob's name and actual likeness, as in an actual person, and thus what had been recorded during the show was protected by their trademarks. In other words, Bob Ross Inc. owned not just Bob's paintings, but Bob himself, or more precisely, his ghost. Because Bob Ross appears in that video, they are claiming that it was infringement of their trademark. Terry's attorney explained to the Amatuer Evening Press at the time, "We don't see any problem." To no one's surprise, Kowalski certainly did. we owe the name. And that, oh shoot, come on. Got it. We own the name. And that snapped to the Star Press. They're using his name without permission. Through the media, he also threatened to yank WIPB as the presenting station for the joy of painting, a threat she would ultimately make good on. She piled on, saying that Bob's last words to me were that he was very, very upset over what Terry had done, and he refused to pay him for a share of the production. I know how to, with the voices, I actually find a way to make it easier for me to actually distinguish for me, saying something that's obviously not my voice while taking it in a voice. So it's like, an actor acting as an actor in a show or movie. So an actor who's playing a character who is an actor who is bad at acting, but they have to be good at it. So I figured I should just do that approach by having slow cadence when doing the quotes, so it sounds like I'm speaking like a different person while doing a different voice. You learn yourself every day. Aneta may have omitted a couple of important details. First, according to Terry, it has been Bob's idea to reimagine the episode in question so that Bob could, even in his poor health, participate in the filming from afar. The main shoot was at WIPB for academia. And second, given that Bob was going through, Terry says he had simply paid the tab himself since he didn't want to bother Bob about money while the man was fighting for his life. Yeah. Especially since he had to deal with medical issues for the past few years up to his death. So he had other personal affairs to go through. So, that is the challenges of setting yourself with dealing with legal stuff. Of course, there was another critical element Aneta omitted, and certainly one that she and Walt likely didn't mention when their lawyers castigated Bob for his lack of loyalty to Bob Ross Inc. It fell in the category of inconvenient truth, and for their lawsuit, extremely inconvenient truth. The lawsuit have explicitly said that Bob Ross Inc. did not consent to Bob Ross and to defendant's production of the video cassette recording of or other use of the name and likeness of Bob Ross. Yet in reality, Aneta and Walt have explicitly given permission to Bob to film the show, and there was an actual tape recording of the conversation. Okay, now it sounds like I am speaking in a weird robotic voice. Oh well. It turns out that in other months at the chemotherapy and radiation took out toll of the memory, Bob had been in the habit of recording his phone calls, which included one in which Aneta and Walt gave him permission to do the show. The name came to light when Terry was on the phone commiserating with Linda. She knew Bob had been told he could do on the show, and she provided the tape recording that provided it. Maybe with the voice in order for me to mimic my voice. I think it also adds a bit of, I wouldn't really say personality entirely, but a type of accent that's personalized, similar to a real person speaking in their everyday life. So, like that, for example, I do that, and it sounds like I'm doing the thing that people could understand me, but it also means I'm muffling a bit. But it does show that I'm having a distinctive voice when I'm actually speaking. So with them to the whole elongating voices. That's something I could do. So, yeah. Alrighty. Yeah, the Kowalski's entire case was built on a lie so egregious that Terry lawyer thought he had slam dunk case to go after Kowalski's for finally blankly furious lawsuit. Terry didn't want anything to do with it though. He just wanted to be done with the Kowalski's in short order. He and WIPD settled the matter. Okay, that's actually pretty good. I don't remember myself. Oh god, I'm gonna regret when I wake up sore, I guess. Harry had the last word on the whole sordid affair, which he broadcasted through the municipal evening press. What voice was I doing? Oh, I was just doing my normal voice that later. I was seeing the quote and I started speaking in a Canaan voice that sounded very close to my darker voice and stuff, but sometimes I actually do talk like that, so maybe that's why the accent actually was just, that's why I need to separate it. Terry, yeah, yo. Terry had the last word on the whole sordid affair, which he broadcasted through the municipal evening press. It was the last work Bob did in his life and the fulfillment of a lifelong dream to host a children's TV program. He was very proud of the show and would have been heartbroken had he known his partners have sued to have it destroyed. Actually, that's pretty distinctive. End quote. End quote. When the settlement was public, when the settlement went public, a clever headline writer at the Star Press couldn't resist the perfect Bob Ross pun. Taped conversation, paintings, new picture. The story led with the old saying that nobody ruins a good story like a witness. The Kowalskis were not going to make the same mistake again. In April 1997, almost 2 years after Bob died, Jimmy signed an agreement on behalf of Bob's estate to settle Kowalski's lawsuit. Destruction of the audio tapes was one of the key clauses. Shit. Oh my god. I wanted to listen to the audio tape. Damn it. It's like, I get my thing gonna freaking play MGS5 where I just listen to audio cassettes the entire time while I'm playing the actual game and actually prefer the contents of it than the actual cutscenes because there's barely any cutscenes. Unlike any other medical games, but then again, they're pretty much like movies, especially MGS4. Jesus. I would have listened to audio tapes while I was playing MGS. Why not? With okay, let me just read this. In the final analysis, the Kowalski's approach proved to be a winning strategy. And if few could or would go toe-to-toe with well-heeled and well-financed lawyers whose clients have made it clear that there were not many levels so to which they would not stoop. With the lawsuit settled, Bob Ross Inc. was in the free and clear to roll on through the rest of the 1990s. The initial concern, the joy of painting, made fade from the airwaves, was quickly put to rest. With 403 episodes on tap, it really didn't seem to matter to Bob's fans or PBS station managers whether he was alive or dead. On TV at least, he had achieved one of his explicit goals in life, to become mortal. Okay. I would have put a quote here, but I don't know. Maybe he is immortal. Oh, yeah, why not? I can't wait for Bob Ross' waifu to come in. And what is it, like, in some years from now. Finally, in 2012, as Netta and Walt reached their 70s and 80s, respectively, they turned over the reins to Joan, and a new era began for the business. Joan explained to the Daily Beast that her expansion into Bob Ross licensing beyond painting products was little more than a happy little accident, much as her parents had kept their nose to the grindstone. The paint business with Bob was out of their creating a show he precisely hoped would last forever. Joan likewise was so close to the painting business that she didn't see the potential for other revenue streams centered on Bob. There it is, into a licensing company named Jason Media approached her with an offer. Oh my god. Heavy Rain. Damn it. I am getting bored and I've been watching Heavy Rain, the movie, on YouTube. And yeah, it's pretty good. However, I felt like, damn, what am I doing with my life? But then again, I'm trying to do something to clear the void. I think everybody can actually agree on me. You know, anybody who comes across can feel my struggle. Yeah, especially with me actually unearthing all of this. I didn't know much of this story, but now I do. Wow. It's a real doozy. Other than that, Jason Media approached her with an offer. The social media platform Twitch was starting a new online channel. They wanted to launch it with Bob Ross Marathon. Joan was leery, as she and her parents had always been about streaming, since they felt like they'd lose control of the joy of painting. The crown jewel of company intellectual property, but one of their nephews understood the potential. "On to Joan, you want to do this," he told her in a Facebook message. "It would be a lot of money, which we needed at the point," Joan said. "Alright, okay, Doogie, let's see what we're doing here." That's another voice I'm going to see. It sounds like a mean old sergeant. Okay, let me just drink some and try out this voice. She said yes to the proposal, and in short order to the Twitch Marathon launched Bob Ross into a new stratosphere. Twitch TV woke up to the world. Joan told the online journal Votive in 2015, around the time of the marathon, they made it every day remember the childhood again. Even though we've always been here, we are freaking out. Years later, she's more reflected by the rock ship Twitch launched back then. Yes, we were surprised, but not really. Really? Oh my god. Oh my god. That's also another voice I could do. Flamboyant noise, but well, man, I'm just having enjoyable time with just reading this. Well, anyway, Joan explained to the Daily Beast, Finally, we're doing what Bob wanted and truly spreading his message to the masses, the skill about which he dreamed. The Bob Ross Renaissance opened up a whole new world of money-making opportunities. Jason, a separate brand management company named Firefly, supercharged the Bob Ross branding business, and the money started rolling in. Based on court documents turned over a part of Steve's lawsuit in 2012, when Joe took over Bob Ross Inc., there was less than $200 in licensing revenue outside of his paint products. Alright, let me just go back to my old voices, see if I still have it. Yeah, in 2015, the number was still only about $40,000, but the following year is rocketed to $46,000 in the year after that. Alright, that's pretty much it, because now I feel a bit doozy. Besides that, I know I didn't say an aloha because I was busy as usual, but other than that, aloha.